Welcome into Northside Territory, Foul Territory Network's Cubs podcast. I'm Sahadev Sharma with my partner Patrick Mooney. We are your Cubs beat writers over at The Athletic. Patrick, I feel like we have done this episode far too often this season. I'm sure Jed Hoyer feels similarly, but it is going to be an episode about injuries, updates, recent injuries, but they just keep coming. They're not stopping. Daniel Palencia is not even the latest, actually, because we'll get to another one. But before Tuesday's game, right? I have the days right. Yeah, before Tuesday's game, we find out Daniel Palencia is headed to the IL. I'm remembering this, right? It's his second IL stint. Yes, his second IL stint of the season. This is just a mess right now. What's going on with this team, injury wise, especially with the pitchers? Why don't you tell us what the situation is with Palencia, their closer, headed to the IL?
So Monday night, Palencia goes out there in the ninth inning, and during that sequence, Cubs manager Craig Counsell and athletic trainer go out there. Usually when that happens, the pitcher is walking off the mound shortly thereafter. Palencia apparently lobbied to stay in. I had kind of noted that and was going to ask about that post-game, but with Pete Crow Armstrong's cycle and just how long some of these post-game sessions are, I did not ask it. I should have, but I also felt like the answer was going to be, look, he struck out 3 guys. We'll see how he feels. He wanted to stay in there, and apparently his elbow did not feel well afterwards or bouncing back the next day. Counsell explained that coming out of Palencia's last outing at Coors Field, he had been kind of feeling something then, but he got 4 days off. And he was throwing. I think he exceeded 100 miles an hour in the ninth inning, like his first batter he faced after that layoff. And he was still hitting 99 in each at bat. Obviously, that's where he's supposed to be. I'm not saying that all the metrics were perfect, but in terms of a capable major league pitcher, he certainly looked like one. And as of Tuesday, Cubs are not going to get an MRI on Palencia. They're going to kind of treat it for a couple of days, see how this inflammation sorts itself out or not. But there's no timeline. And I think the thing that I asked Jed Hoyer about, because it's really kind of stuck with me, because that was during one of my turns at spring training, of Team Venezuela is lobbying the Cubs and other teams to be able to use their relievers to full effect in the final rounds of the WBC. And the Cubs sort of agreed, if you're going to do this, it has to be in the right scenario, meaning that kind of once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, perhaps, to win a WBC. Palencia closes out Team USA. That was 3 saves in 4 days, including beating Shohei Ohtani in a matchup there against Japan. And so that's not ideal. I mean, Jed Hoyer acknowledged it. He's like, we'll never be able to prove that one way or the other. We don't know, but this is the WBC stuff is why team officials sort of hate it. They get why baseball does it. They think it's a great event. It's fun to watch, but if you're on the team side, it's just very uncomfortable. And that's what you always wonder, if a guy doesn't start well, if he gets injured shortly thereafter. Palencia had the oblique issue in April, on the IL again now with the elbow. I guess the one thing you can sort of point to is that Palencia does seem to bounce back pretty well. Maybe that won't last forever, but that oblique issue earlier this season, he really hit, if not surpassed that optimistic timeline they had for his return. And then going back to the end of last season, him walking off the mound, you think, like, is this guy having major elbow surgery? Shoulder surgery. And he gets back in time to become just this huge force in the playoffs. So Council agreed, like, that is useful information. It doesn't determine how they're going to proceed, but like at this point, the Cubs seem to be, I don't know, both vague and relatively optimistic at the same time.
Yeah. You're right. Like he does seem to come back from these injuries quickly, or beat expectations. You're just always waiting for like when the next shoe to drop, right? Like how bad is this next one? When is the really bad one gonna come? That's just kind of how it feels sometimes, especially when you have a hard throwing reliever. This is often what happens. They get injured and things pile up and eventually the big one comes. But that doesn't seem to be the case as of yet. We'll see how long he actually is on the shelf, if it is a minimum stay just to get whatever the irritation cleared up. If they're not getting an MRI as of yet, that's probably the best scenario Cubs fans can hope for when someone goes on the IL for an elbow injury. No MRI. We'll see if that changes in the next few days or weeks. It's kind of remarkable the type of season that he's had. This team was red hot at one point, obviously struggling to get consistent wins right now, but 3 opportunities for saves all season long is kind of mind-boggling. We're in the middle of June right now, and this is not a last place team or something like that, or a team 20 games under 500 or anything like that. They're above 500. I understand the Cubs are struggling, but 3 save chances is kind of wild for Daniel Palencia. So maybe, I mean, I do think that the bullpen, we said, like, the bullpen is, kind of being held together, with like gum and whatnot. It's like barely being held together.
Scotch tape.
Yeah. I don't know how they're going to look getting through this. They probably have bigger concerns at the moment, just waiting for the offense to wake up. But it's an odd situation. It's not ideal. But there's more. That's not the only thing that's going on. Let's take a quick break and talk about some more of what's going on with this team. All right, it is summertime, and if you are ready to go watch the Cubs, whether it's next weekend over at AmFam Field, watch them against the Brewers and see if they can get back in this division race, or against San Diego when they get back home after this homestand, you are going to want to head to SeatGeek. That is why I want to give you the sponsor of today's video, SeatGeek, a huge shout out. With over 35 million downloads, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. There are more than 70,000 events listed on SeatGeek, including concerts, sports, festivals, and more. And with SeatGeek being MLB's official ticket marketplace, your tickets are fully guaranteed and instantly fulfilled in your account after purchase. SeatGeek has your back. Each ticket is rated on a scale of 1 to 10, so you know you're getting a good deal. So look for the green dots. Green means good. Red means bad. And of course, I have a code for you guys. You can use code Territory10 for 10% off your next set of MLB tickets at SeatGeek. That's 10% off any MLB tickets with promo code Territory10. Make sure you click the link in the description to download the app and have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later. Thank you, SeatGeek. Patrick, it is not as simple as just one injury, of course. This rotation is in tatters. I'm not even sure how you can really feel like they're going to get through this season. There's very few AAA options left. I don't think there are. I mean, I guess there's Jordan Wicks. That's the only real AAA option left. But Edward Cabrera walking off the mound yet again. Uh, Maybe it's not the end of the world type injury, uh, but hand cramps, I believe, is what we were told. Uh, Tell us about the scene at Wrigley and what you gathered after the game.
Right now, it's just a cramp, as far as they can tell. But they're going to have to wait and see if he's going to make his next start. And so, if you WebMD this one, sometimes cramp, which I would not recommend, but cramping can sometimes indicate a more serious concern for a pitcher. At this point, the Cubs are not going there. Counsel said it, the best they can tell, according to the tests that they've run, it is just cramping. Now, Cabrera, through an interpreter, really was not all that enlightening or forthcoming in terms of what happened. He said dehydration was not the explanation he was given by the training staff. He said he's never had something like this before. He said he was optimistic that he'll be pitching again in 5 days, but he basically said the same thing when he left an earlier start with a blister, and obviously wound up going on the injured list when that occurred. So, really just, we're almost halfway through this season now, and Edward Cabrera has just been, frankly, a big disappointment that, the Cubs thought they could unlock something here, that he was very, very talented and had shown flashes, and that, in this situation and, as he grew into his career, he could be a potential top of the rotation starter. And it has just not happened at all in terms of impact, in terms of volume, in terms of consistency. Just none of that has been there. And I think you were kind of alluding to this earlier, like you wonder, like, if this offense does sort of wake up at some point, or a couple more guys get rolling, like, are the Cubs just going to wind up losing games 8-7 instead of 3-2?
Yeah, I think that's the main concern for this team. It feels like at some point this offense will get going. We could obviously have a much longer discussion about this offense. I think Alex Bregman in particular is someone like, is this not going to turn? But this happens over the course of seasons with talented players, and things do turn. Sometimes it just looks like it never will. Yeah, Bregman's not the only one. I could talk about Nico Horner, Dansby Swanson. It's a long list. But that's not what we're talking about right now, because I do feel like at some point that offense will wake up, and then it's like, do they have the pitching to get through this season? It's not even do they have the pitching to compete right now. How do they get through the season? If Cabrera has to go on the shelf, you're calling. Is it Jordan Wicks that you're calling back up? Are you bulking up the bullpen and doing bullpen games every fifth day, which is going to tax the bullpen and impact your team the other 4 games? And Jordan Wicks isn't doing well. Like he's. I'm not sure if he's a viable option right now. He's not performing well at the major league level or the minor league level. It's a concern right now. I honestly can't think of who else you would go to starter wise. Maybe there's someone at AAA, but even AAA has had injuries. Um, this is a rough situation. It is not an elbow. It is not a shoulder. The stuff is back. This was his 3rd start, and he's throwing much harder. but it's kind of the same problems that he had when he was with Miami. The command isn't good enough, and he'll suddenly start walking guys, and then when he's in the zone, the fastball in particular. I think the home run yesterday was off a curveball, but the fastball in particular just gets hit hard, like line drives all over the place with the fastball when he just leaves it over the plate, and it's very hittable. Um, you're right. This has not been living up to expectations as far as what the Cubs kind of were. They've made it clear they've wanted this guy for a while. We've reported for over a year that they've had their eyes on Edward Cabrera. They saw something in him, and whatever they hope to unlock has not fully been unlocked. Whether it's health, or just performance, he's been restricted and not been able to live up to expectations. They needed stuff in this rotation. They needed swing and miss in this rotation. He's not giving them enough of that. It's hard. I mean, it's 2.5 months in of 3 years, right? Is what he had left on his deal when they acquired him. 2.5 months in, it hasn't been close to good enough. And you wrote this. Look, the players they gave up, they're not like some big. Like Owen Casey is really struggling at the major league level right now, and the other two minor leaguers may not be anything impactful. But it's the value of that. Like, what did you get for Owen Casey, a top 100 prospect that has value, that had value on the trade market? Did you get an impactful player? We're not sure yet. That so far that has not been the case.
Yeah, there's only so many ways you can improve a team that wins a playoff round, and like they targeted. Obviously, they cast a very wide net, and they wound up with Cabrera, and maybe he winds up being really good. It just hasn't happened yet, and the Cubs sort of knew there was this ticking clock when you look at his injury history in particular, and just generally pitchers who have his kind of profile. Like, they wanted the swing and miss, they wanted the power, they wanted the explosiveness, and when you chase those things, you usually increase the rate of injury. And so thus far to this point, he hasn't had that major arm injury, but he's already been on the injured list with the blister. We'll see what happens with this cramping sensation he felt in his right hand. And, the Cubs looked at, say, 3 years of club control and thought, well, if something happened, we'd be able to kind of make it up on the back end. Like, they weren't penciling him in for 33 starts every single year. But yeah, they just can't afford him being a guy with like a 5 ERA, a negative WAR performer. Like, not when you got essentially nothing from Cade Horton, as he recovers from major surgery, when Matthew Boyd is still stuck on, is it like 24 innings this year? I forget what it is. A very small amount, in terms of his contributions. Jameson Taillon not back until after the All-Star break. And obviously we'll get into Justin Steele in the next segment, but adding all of this up, like they've whiffed, they've miscalculated on Cabrera, and he's gonna, counsel says it takes the whole roster. He's not into names, but like they need him to do more, period.
Yeah, absolutely. 24 innings for Boyd.
Okay.
And like you said, 0 innings for Justin Steele. Well, let's take a quick break and get an update on him.
This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Baseball fans, the MLB season is in full swing, and FanDuel is giving you a chance to call your shot with daily dingers. Joining the action is easy. Just make your free pick on who's hitting a home run in their game, and if you're right, you'll get a profit boost to use on your next bet for a chance at extra winnings. It's just another reason why FanDuel is the home of home runs. So, are you ready to play your game? Head over to FanDuel.com/podcast to get started. That's FanDuel.com/podcast to opt in for Daily Dingers. Make your free pick on who's hitting a homer. Play ball, swing for the fences on FanDuel, an official partner of Major League Baseball. No purchase necessary. Opt-in required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable profit boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including any token expiration and max wager amount. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call or text 1-800-GAMBLER.
Okay, so in an ideal world, we'd be what? It would have a handful of Justin Steele starts already in this season, and he'd be man, could this rotation use him after what we've just talked about? There is no depth. There are too many injuries, and Justin Steele obviously not back in time. Back at when they optimistically hoped he would be. A setback in April has him shut down. But he is back at Wrigley. You got to talk to him in person. Patrick, what are the vibes there, and what's the realistic expectations for a return in 2026?
Well, Steele is optimistic. You know him. He desperately wants to get back out there, and he'll be around the team for roughly the next 3 weeks, so they can get a better feel for the situation. They can track his progress and begin to map out what a more comprehensive ramp up program will look like for him. He's in the sort of like throwing plyo ball stage right now, and Monday has been targeted as the moment when he can resume a true throwing program. Now that will have been about 2 months since he last threw a baseball. And so, he made the point that it's not like he's building up his arm after surgery, so that he doesn't anticipate it being, quite as long. But still, he acknowledged the calendar is an issue. And so you have, I think the way counsel framed it was Steele has runway, but can't really afford a setback or multiple setbacks at this point. And I think Jed Hoyer used the word hopeful, while saying that like optimistic is probably too strong a word to use to describe his outlook for Steele. Steele was insistent he is going to pitch again this year. That he is someone who has one more year in the arbitration system, can become a free agent after the 2027 season, but that, his focus is on pitching meaningful games for the Cubs and being built up as a starter this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to have those hopes.
Yeah.
I just don't know. I hear that and I think, okay, so everything has to go perfectly from now. Now it's time that it just nothing's gone smoothly with this. So to expect that he can help this team, and it would be mid-August, I think, if everything goes right, it's just really hard to see it happening. But I understand him having an optimistic view. He has to. That's the mindset you take when you're rehabbing. Everything that I've heard from pitchers, especially when they're rehabbing, it's a very, lonely and kind of dark time. You're so used to competing and being with your teammates, being out there, and then suddenly you're off on this island in rehab world in Arizona, not getting in games, working with different coaches, away from your team. It's just it's not an easy situation. So mentally going to a darker place isn't helpful. He's got to stay positive. It sounds like both Jed and Craig Counsell are a little bit more, I don't know, in the realistic viewpoint of hey, Yes, there is a possibility here. There are chances that he could help this team. Um, it just everything has to go right from here. You can't have any hiccups. Even the slightest thing will throw everything off. Uh, and then it's just about how do you get him back in there and how many innings can he give you a game. I guess we'll see where that goes. Monday will be the first step in this process, I guess, as far as actually getting a ball in his hand and throwing again. Um, it, I feel bad for the guy because he, obviously very talented pitcher. Uh, and it's been, what has it been now? 16 months since the surgery. So it's just been a slower process than I think any of us really expected.
Yeah, I think if that timeline of later this summer does transpire, it'll be about 16 months. I mean, and that's what you're getting at is like he hasn't pitched in a major league game since April 2025. So thinking you just plug him in and he's like instantly in all-star Cy Young award contender form is just not realistic. And so having him come back would be a huge boost. I just think the Cubs are not at a point where they're thinking Justin Steele is going to save our season, nor should they. But look, I mean, Justin Steele, really, I think showed us a lot when he had that breakout season, and just how diligent he was, how patient he was, really willing himself into being that frontline starter the Cubs had been seeking. It took him a long time. I mean, he was drafted in 2014. He's still around in the organization, which is kind of amazing in and of itself. And so, yeah, I think yesterday was sort of the like, okay, here's where we're at right now. I don't think he had spoken much, if at all, since he was diagnosed with that flexor strain in April. And so just getting his thoughts, seeing him back around the team was instructive. And then we just have to wait and see how this goes.
Yeah, you mentioned how you can't expect him to be like this Cy Young caliber guy. In an ideal world, that's what June and July you don't want to use it as, you don't want to use major league starts as rehab
Practice.
essentially,
Yeah.
but it would have been an opportunity for him to kind of get his rhythm, and then down the stretch when they're competing, hopefully for the division or whatever it may have been, he's hitting his stride and really finding his best self. Now he doesn't really have that runway anymore. When he goes, it'll be go time. If and when he's ready, it'll be go time for the team in general. So just a unfortunate set of circumstances for him. This does feel like one of those seasons where just everything is going wrong with the pitching. And the team in general, a lot of things going wrong, obviously. Kind of just muddling through a season after such a promising start to the season. We'll see where it goes. We'll see if they can get on a roll. I think it's important to note that, the Phillies were left for dead a month ago, and now they're 7 games over 500. There are so many teams that, all you need really is if they can get one more hot stretch and then kind of be 500 again, then that gets them into the playoffs. But the division is certainly slipping away at eight games behind the Brewers, who just never seem to slow down, never seem to have these extended slumps. And it doesn't matter who gets hurt or who they lose. This team is just a caliber above everyone, including the Cubs. It seems like they're just not at the same level. It's proven over and over again, year after year. We'll see if they can change the narrative, but right now it does feel like a very negative space around the Cubs. All right, we will be back with a couple more episodes this week. We'll make sure to talk all things Cubs. Thanks so much for listening. This is Northside Territory. Make sure to rate, review, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and subscribe to The Athletic, where Patrick and I are on top of all things Cubs. Thanks for listening and watching, everyone. Take care.